It's the end of the Gensler era.
Maybe up to 30% of all transaction volume on blockchain managed and engaged through AI agents or solutions.
We're bullish 2025, bullish crypto.
Facebook's going to be announcing very soon that in their treasury, they're going to be doing what Michael Saylor did. Some of their treasury is going to be going towards Bitcoin.
GM, and welcome back to Solana Floor. Gary Gensler is finally on his way out, and 2025 shaping up to be one of crypto's best years so far. Now, to talk me through what all this means for us, I'm joined by Stefan Rust. Stefan is, of course, the founder of Truflation, but he has built businesses all around the world, which puts him in a uniquely qualified position to join us and explain how he thinks the changing crypto landscape is going to impact us after 2025. And of course, what's going to happen as a result of this inauguration of Donald Trump. Stefan, GM, great to have you on again. What does crypto and politics look like from your vantage point right now?
We had yesterday, we had the inflation announcement, right? The US came out, the BLS announced inflation, 2.9%. The market was somewhat surprised. I don't know why, because if they were subscribing to Truflation, they would have had the accurate reflection, they would have known it. We were spot on. We've been spot on 7 out of the last 8 times to the dot, right? And so we forecasted this. I put my bets on Polymarket and won on Polymarket. So pretty excited about that. So prediction markets. Unfortunately, Drift did not have a bet open on that. So I couldn't bet on Drift, but I would have loved to have done that. But market was surprised, which is what baffled me, why they actually didn't expect inflation to go up. But we saw this, and we're going to see this. 3 is the new 2.
Absolutely. I mean, as you said, people didn't expect it. There was a bit of surprise there. And I'm going to sort of get back into the intro in a second. But price action seems to be, not as priced in as people would expect. And I find that surprising, given that, poly market and sort of on-chain prediction markets have been ahead of the game quite a lot. And I would have expected maybe at least the sort of crypto natives to price this in a little bit earlier. But people seem to have been caught off guard. There was one a whole week actually where people were saying meme coins are over, AI tokens are going to boom and bust, and then this is going to be the end of the cycle. And it was sad times on crypto Twitter for a week. So what's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody baked in, the euphoria of Trump winning the election. We saw a big sort of bump up in November, right? Oh yeah, we're excited. Trump's going to win. Trump won. Excitement. We hit the Christmas holidays, right? The New Year holiday goes into a bit of a break. And then actually realism hits in, skepticism breaks out at the luncheons and dinners and parties during the holiday season. What were people talking about? Oh, will it really grow? Will Doge actually have the impact that it will have? How are they going to cut 2 trillion out of the budget deficit? Where is 2 trillion? A lot of money, right? How do you cut that? And so a lot of skepticism, uncertainty, and everybody, let's just wait. Let's sell off. Liquidations happen. I think also a lot of TradFi want to get ready for crypto. They see the crypto bull happening. They see David Sachs out there. They see the tech bros all coming in there, the oligarchs coming in. And guess what? Facebook's going to be announcing very soon that in their treasury, they're going to be doing what Michael Saylor did. Some of their treasury is going to be going towards Bitcoin. Why? Because he needs to change the narrative. He needs to become Facebook and the Meta group need to become a bigger part of this new story going forward. How do they do that? Get Dana White on the board, show that we're going to have, community notes. And then ultimately, we now also are Bitcoin bros, right? So come in, invest your advertising dollars, and boom, by the way, you can advertise now. You're paying in Bitcoin on Meta. Guess what? Will that happen? I think we'll be seeing that again. Google will open up advertising around crypto projects. So we're going to see a whole new boom coming up. And I think the market's beginning to realize that. And that's beginning to trickle down and trickle in to the mindset.
2 points on that. So if this was 2021 and somebody turned around and said, Meta or Google is going to accept crypto payments, everyone would have gone absolutely bonanza. It would have been insane. But now, at least personally, I feel a little bit of skepticism when I see this sort of transformation, this PR transformation that Mark Zuckerberg has gone through. And I'm more skeptical than anything. I feel like they're just jumping onto the bandwagon, and I feel like they're 10 years too late. Should we be more skeptical or just pure optimism about, companies like Meta coming in and saying we're going to jump on the bandwagon too? What are your feelings on that?
So skepticism is a healthy, drug. Basically, it's good to have skepticism. I think we should all be skeptical at certain parts and all the time, right? We should do our own research, etc. But overall, I think for the industry, it's going to be good, right? I mean, ultimately, we're driving payments, which was always the goal, having a peer-to-peer electronic cash system set up, and as documented in the white paper. This is now possibly actually going to become a reality where you can pay it. I think Zuckerberg really wanted to build Libra and bring that to market and was under such tremendous pressure. And I think the pressure is, we saw what happened with the pressure with Travis Kalanick at Uber, right? He had to resign. He had to step back. He had to couldn't be on the board anymore. They really booted him out, not only of his company, but out of the whole industry, right? He had to, and so what happens if you take on these big monolithic institutions is, you actually may have to lose your baby. And I think Mark wasn't ready to do that. And so now, maybe now he comes back in a different way, and brings it back differently. I think I'm skeptical of Bitcoin as overall and the way that the industry's going. It's definitely becoming a lot more institutionalized. It is no longer institutions moving onto the crypto rails. It's more crypto moving onto the institutional rails, where you need your custodian, you need your banking KYC. You have to set up a bank account, and guess what? Soon on all the banks, you'll be able to store your crypto there. And the banks will be able to hold assets and reserve assets in crypto, which will be very attractive from a price go up perspective and a demand side. But is it the actual vision that the cypherpunks had when they first set up this new currency that was going to compete against the 2008 financial crisis, right?
Yeah, if you're asking me, then absolutely no chance of me custodying any of my crypto with a bank anytime soon, unless there's a gun to my head. I'm not doing that. But I would hope that a majority of people in crypto feel that. But yeah, from a number go up perspective, I guess we can't be choosers at the moment. So let's see if 2025 changes all of that, because obviously the prevailing consensus at the moment is that the first 100 days of Trump's presidency is really going to be a positive catalyst for crypto. Or some people are saying it's going to be the best 100 days of any sort of presidency, because he's come out as such a staunch supporter of crypto. You have David Sachs coming in. You got this new crypto and AI czar. So back to you then, Stefan. First 100 days, best 100 days of crypto ever, or are we a little bit too optimistic?
Best 100. I wouldn't say best ever, because but it's gonna be good. I'm gonna steal Steve Bannon's comment, which is days of thunder. It's just going to be so much chaos going on, right? Departments are going to be slashed. There are going to be a number of executive orders. There's going to be a whole slew of pursuits. The conversations in Mar-a-Lago have been happening for a reason, and they've been laying and plotting the map really carefully and moving already, so that as soon as the 20th kicks in, I think on the Monday, the 22nd or whenever, or the 21st, boom, we're just going to go. And it's so much chaos that we need to make sure in crypto land that we get grandfathered in throughout that chaos.
How do we do that?
Launch and move fast. Just move, right? Don't wait for a lawyer to give you approval and write the documents, etc. Know the laws, where you want to go today, and then just go fast and try to really get a good foothold and execute. Have a team that can execute. That's always what's mattered. And I think that's, to your point, Solana, when we were talking last, Solana's known for fast execution. And we look at other protocols, they're still struggling with, what's the layer 1 and layer 2 version of this? And we've got a 27-year roadmap. I don't think we have 27 years in front of us, right? We've got a couple of months and weeks to really make a mark. And I think this 2025 is when we have to make that mark. And then it will become a lot more structured. Regulatory frameworks will be much more favorable towards crypto, but there'll be stronger enforcement, I think. And there will be a greater sophistication of understanding of the crypto markets. And there will be new benchmarks and metrics that will be used in the crypto landscape, and that institutions and investors will start using to evaluate specific projects.
You said regulatory frameworks there. It's a bit of a trigger of mine nowadays. So Gary's on his way out. It's the end of the Gensler era. So I know, I know. I wonder if there's going to be any sort of live watch parties for that. But if we look back for what it's worth, Stefan, how bad was Gary Gensler for crypto?
Cancer. He was the worst type of cancer to the industry. I mean, look at where the talent fled towards. They left all the countries, right? They left the West. They went to Greece. They went to Portugal. They went to Dubai. They went to Hong Kong, Singapore. We were going everywhere else but in the US before the scare, the threat of, and the success. I mean, it's like Xi Jinping. What did Xi Jinping do to all the successful entrepreneurs in China? He killed them, right? He shut them down, fined them, did whatever he needed to make sure that they could not be too successful. And that's what Gensler and Yellen and Warren were doing, right? I mean, they were coming in, putting people in jail, fining them, going to lawsuits. And if you didn't have a budget, if you did not have billions of dollars to fund lawyers, hundreds of millions of dollars to fund lawyers to counter and take the SEC to court, you wouldn't have had a chance. And no startup has that. And unless, it takes a while for a startup to get the traction, to get the rewards, to then be able to then build out enough of a treasury to be able to fund lawyers to take the government to court.
Yeah, so it's been a very combative environment for crypto startups. And on that, do you think it's going to be significantly more attractive as a regulatory environment now, the US, for crypto startups? Do you think we're going to see this new wave of innovation and entrepreneurship happening in the US as a result of this political shift?
Yeah, for sure. I think you're seeing tech is going to rule. I think, you're already seeing, a lot of the VCs coming out and saying, oh, great, we're going to see a huge wave of innovation take place. And I said right at the beginning, right, 3 is the new 2, right? 3% inflation is the new 2% inflation. And so as long as we have productivity gains greater than 3%, we still have net progress in society. And I think thanks to AI, thanks to technology, we will see a lot of progress in GDP growth. And ultimately, with GDP growth, you ultimately can afford some of the necessary you can have a bit of a higher inflation number as well as be able to afford some of your deficit, but ultimately hopefully pay back the debts that you've accumulated and work on that. Or the percentage of debt to GDP drops because you're growing the GDP. And bear in mind, if the US, the size of the economy has a 5% GDP growth, it's a whole India. That economy that it grows is growing by a whole India, a whole Turkey. That's the size of those economies all of a sudden layered on top of the US economy.
Absolutely huge amounts of growth that we're looking at. You mentioned there something I want to go back to. So the SEC is obviously going to go through a bit of an overhaul, and we're expecting a less combative state. You mentioned that unless you got billions of dollars sitting around, which most startups of course don't, it was an incredibly difficult environment to launch and scale a crypto startup. But thinking of the SEC for a second, over the last sort of 5 to 10 years, I get the feeling that it wasn't all SEC commissioners that were terrible for the industry. I mean, you've got people like Hester Pierce, who people have nicknamed Crypto Mom. So do we expect her influence on crypto, her influence on crypto regulation to increase? Do we think she's going to sort of the faction of people that maybe would have thought that way, are they going to be more prominent now? Or are we going to see a much more radical overhaul of the SEC? How do you see that playing out?
I think we're not. I think you won't see I mean, I don't know necessarily, but my view is that we won't see a radical overhaul. We'll see a new chairman come in, and I think we'll see the adoption of suggestions made and put forward by existing members of the SEC or even other senators or representatives. They will then be maybe elevated to the top, as those were put forward earlier and suggestions, but kept sort of under the ground. One of the biggest one, obviously, is Senator Loomis with her proposal, which is taking the gold reserves that are on the balance sheets of the Federal Reserve and then marking those to market and using that gain from a mark to market, I think at $40 an ounce to $2,700 an ounce. All of a sudden, what do I do with that excess capital? Oh, we'll buy Bitcoin and add Bitcoin to the reserves. So ultimately, there's a swapperoo between the capital gains associated on the gold when it's marked to market and using that towards purchase of Bitcoin and adding that to the balance sheet. So things like that, I think, are going to be much more prevalent. There's a big move right now on two fronts. One is taxation. So treat Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies like currencies, so they don't get taxed as capital gains or other sort of income tax sources for the government. And then, or also the balance sheet, right? So being able to account for crypto as a part of your liquid assets on the balance sheet versus as debt on the balance sheet. So those are 3 or 4 movements that are significantly going to accelerate the adoption, increase the mindset and awareness on crypto and the value that different projects and protocols are providing.
I'm going to think about the Solana ecosystem for a second. Obviously, Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs have been approved, or exchange-traded products more generally. But how do you see this new political and regulatory environment in the US impacting Solana specifically? There's a pending ETF application, well, many of them. Is that significantly more likely to be approved now, or do you think there's some other hurdles that still need to be overcome?
Yeah, I think Solana is super interesting. It had, number one, from a developer standpoint, had, I think, the biggest, according to Electric Capital and their developer report, they highlighted the fact that Solana had the fastest growing developer community over 2024. So huge momentous shift there. You've also got ETFs in the pending approval, likely to be approved this year. I mean, why would somebody stop a market that allows others to make money off? And in a more free market, you're likely to see the approval of that, especially as we've already seen approvals for other types of ETFs. And I think the interesting thing, there's this company in Canada, I can't remember its name, but what they did is they're trying to build the MicroStrategy's, sort of equivalent, instead of having Bitcoin as the underlying, to have Solana as the underlying, and then leverage its listing on the Canadian Stock Exchange to then be able to, buy more Solana, list more, buy more. And to me, those are interesting activities that we might see more of, right? Or maybe more companies like a Meta say, I want my treasury to have also a component of Solana, not just Bitcoin in there.
That would be exciting, wouldn't it? If huge companies turn around and say, I'm not just putting one crypto asset on my balance sheet, but I'm going to get a basket of crypto assets. That would be exciting.
But why wouldn't you do that, right? I mean, it's normal. Today, if you're a global business, you've got renminbi, you're dealing with British pounds, you're dealing with euros, you're dealing with ringgits, you're dealing with all these different currencies. And then you've got to rebalance your balance sheet at the end of every month when you go through an accounting or a filing or some sort of reporting. And now with technology, you can rebalance that continuously, automatically. Anytime I can see my exposure, and I can have it in ETH, I can have it in Bitcoin, I can have it in US dollar, I can have it in any type of currency that I would like. And so with those technologies there today, why wouldn't you as a company just extend the currencies that you have on your balance sheet already into other assets, like Ethereum, like Solana, right? Like Drift, like Jito, right? Whatever I'm using on a regular, consistent basis, I need the coins because I'm using those services, and either I want to access those services, get premium features, discounts, whatever it is in terms of the utility that token provides.
Be a headline and a half. Meta adds Solana to the balance sheet. That would go wild in the Solana ecosystem. Speaking of things going wild and mind share, if we think about the last 12 months, Meme coins dominated for a majority of it, in terms of mindshare at least. But now it seems to be AI agents, AI, an agentic economy being on chain. And of course, there's an endless list of LARPs and people pretending to be AI agents. So there's risk, there's opportunity. I'm curious where you think the most mind share is going to be in the next 12 months. Is it going to be meme coins again? Will we see a revival, or is it just going to be AI for the next 12 months?
I mean, AI has seen a huge flurry, and the amount of AI tokens now coming out. I mean, meme coins, we saw a lot of meme coins. Now we're seeing a lot of AI coins. Yeah, I mean, AI, I think, is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. I also think that we will have maybe up to 30% of all transaction volume on blockchain managed and engaged with through AI agents or solutions. Why? Because the AIs will be able to extract data from the various sources and then come up with strategies. Oh, I'm going to use that source. I can see that pricing information. If I use Pith, if I use Chainlink, or if I use another Oracle, Supra, or Truflation. What are the price points there? How do I best get this data? Where can I get that data? The agents will do a lot of that work 24/7 and then settle up paying for that service, wallets, trading, et cetera, across all of those categories. So if you look at all of that volume and you say maybe 20 to 30% of that is going to be transacted by AI agents. So AI is here to stay. Other topics, I'm obviously a big believer in index coins, right? So where we're going to see the ability, I really want to get into AI. What are the top 10 AI coins? I don't know. Cookie.fun, is it going to be where else? And what AI 16Z, obviously, what else is going to be out there? How do I go and participate in there? I've got, I don't know, meme coins, but I know that meme coins have a cultural movement associated with it. Which one? I don't know. I'm not going to be on the latest 10, but if I buy an index coin that represents the top 10 meme coins, balanced somehow, re-weighted, and I can buy a perpetual associated with that, maybe I would do that. And that allows me to hedge myself and participate in that asset class, but not necessarily be, holding the short straw at the end of a cycle, or at a rug pull, run the risk of being in a rug pull or not knowing which is going to be the top meme coin that I need to be a part of.
Who's building this then, Stefan? Who's making it a reality for people to go and get exposure to an asset class that's very risky without necessarily needing to pick winners?
So check out index.fun, right? INDEX.fun. They have built out a front end where anybody can create an index. So Peter Levels created the short-lived index on there. You have, Murad, I think there's a Murad meme coin index. You have a Jim Cramer inverse, Jim Cramer index. You have all sorts of crazy indexes on there. And deadlift index. So CEOs that go to the gym and do deadlifts and all sorts of things. So that's definitely one that I think is really interesting. Everybody's also talking about, so check that out.
So we spoke a little bit about AI applications there, and you mentioned that AI's capacity to sort of take huge amounts of data from out there in the world and make it sort of human readable and accessible for people is going to be a huge unlock. But I'm curious if I sort of forced you into a decision here and I said, where is the most AI-driven activity, AI-driven growth going to be? Would you say it's going to be in DeFi applications? Is it going to be exclusively consumer facing? What do we think AI is really going to transform and unlock in the next 12 months?
Productivity gains and trading. Super easy, right? How do I give you the right kind of tools so that you can improve your productivity? There's going to be a lot of activity around that. So you don't need to hire 2 or 3 people, but you can actually hire a couple, subscribe to a couple of agents and they learn your patterns and then they do the work for you. And then you may hire one, additional person after that AI person's come in, or you need to manage something else, right? And so you need new types of skill sets associated with the work that you're getting done. That's one area. Trading, everybody wants to make money and, money moves uphill. And so we need the bots to be able to track which paths it's going to go when it goes uphill and when there's an opportunity. So I think those are the 2 big categories that I would identify and try and spot alpha in.
So it sounds like overall we're bullish 2025, bullish crypto, bullish revival of a reasonable regulatory environment in the US, bullish Solana. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Definitely bullish on all those counts.
Amazing. Stefan, where can we follow along with all the developments and the updates from Truflation?
I think Truflation.com is a site to go to, or the Truf network, where you can actually get all of this data across any chain for any of your apps, either via a Web2 API, a RPC on the blockchain. So check that out.
So thank you so much for making time to talk to us again, Stefan. We'll put all of those links in the description of the video for the audience if they want to go check it out. And we'll catch up with you hopefully very, very soon.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Thanks for having me, and enjoyed the show.